Now let's look at how vectors can be added. So first method, and a very common method, it is a graphical method actually, head to tail rule. In this it is very simple, that if we have more than one vectors, we can add them together. So using this rule, the first vector and the second vectors are joined such that without altering the length or direction of those vectors, we join those vectors together in such a way that the first vector joins the tail of the second vector, or in other words, we draw second vector on the head of first vector. And what is the result? The result, or the sum of those vectors, is called as a resultant vector, and that resultant vector is a vector that points from the tail of the first vector to the head of the last vector, and the distance and the length of that vector is the magnitude, and direction, of course, direction will be from the tail of the first vector and towards the head of the last vector. Like this, for example, we have two vectors a and b, and for adding them together, we will have to bring them together like this. First, we'll draw vector a like this, and then on the head of this vector we have to draw vector b without altering the direction or length of this vector b. Now we come to the second point to find out resultant vector, or the sum vector of these two, means the answer after adding these two vectors. We will draw a vector from the tail of vector a towards the head of vector b like this. So if we say this is vector s, or we can call it r also, or any other name that we want to give it to the resultant vector, it's up to us. So here we are calling it s. So s is equal to a plus b. So it is not necessary that the length of s will be equal to the sum of the lengths of a and b. It will be different. We can find out that length with trigonometric functions. You will see in the coming slides also how we find that magnitude out. Okay, this is the vector addition by head to tail rule. Let us see another example when we have three vectors, how we can add them together. Let us consider these are the three vectors, vector a, b and c. So we will follow the same steps. First we will draw vector number a, then on the head of it we will draw vector number b, and on the head of vector number b, or vector b, we will draw vector c, and then we will draw final resultant vector from the tail of first vector, which was a, to the head of the last vector, which is c, like this. So when we have drawn them like this, you can see again. So these are the vectors without altering their directions and their length, without changing anything. We just rearrange them such that vector b comes to the head of vector a, and vector c comes joins the head of vector b. Now our task is to find the resultant vector, which will be a vector from the tail of first vector a to the head of the last vector, which is c, like this. So we call it s is equal to a plus b plus c. So this is one way. And secondly, we can also add two vectors first, and then add third vector to the resultant vector of those two vectors. For example, we can add a and b together to find out a plus b, and then we add c in a plus b to find a plus b plus c in this manner. First we find a plus b, and then we find a plus b plus c, like this. We are adding them together. This is the resultant vector of a and b. Okay, you understand this one? Then in the sum of vector a and b, we add vector c to it. Okay, now our vector a plus b is the first vector and c is the last vector. Our resultant vector will be from the tail of a plus b towards the head of C. So it is A plus B plus C. Both of these are same, you can see in this slide. So both methods are okay. If there are so many vectors and you want to do it step by step for simplicity, and for if you're being more careful and you want to keep it simple, uh, you can use this method. If you have like 5 vectors, add 3 together, then from in the resultant of those of those 3 vectors you add another one, then you get resultant vector, then add another one in their resultant vector. So this is one method also.